On the Las Vegas Raiders rundown, we're going to talk about some things that a former Josh McDaniels player had to say about his behavior in the locker room with the Denver Broncos. Plus, the Raiders have some injuries that mean that some key starters will be out in this upcoming game, and a Denver Broncos pass rusher is talking some mad trash against the Raiders. Let's get right into it. Tyler Columbus, this offensive lineman, played with the Denver Broncos from 2008 until 2010 and experienced the 2009 season with Josh McDaniels as head coach of the Denver Broncos and a little bit of the 2010 offseason. He had some interesting things to say about some of Josh McDaniels' behavior while he was the head coach. We know Josh McDaniels has said that he's changed his relationship to his players over time compared to how he was in 2009 with the Denver Broncos, and he's going to play, his former employer of 10 years ago in this upcoming matchup. And he claims to have corrected the way that he's handled his relationship with players, but these things that Columbus claims he did are actually kind of alarming. So after trading away the young nucleus of the offense, including Jay Cutler, Josh McDaniels said to the entire team after trading away Cutler, "Fellas, don't worry about the QB situation. I could turn a high school QB into an all-pro." So that is what Josh McDaniels said back then, kind of boasting, and we kind of thought this might be some aspect of Josh McDaniels that may still exist. The fact that he thinks he could turn anybody into a great QB, he thinks that he is a QB whisperer, QB guru. He definitely thought this in 2008. The question is, does he still believe this now? And we thought maybe this could be a reason why he might want to find his own quarterback, but the extension of Derek Carr showed that he wants to roll with Derek Carr and see what he can do in this offense, and that's what has happened right now with the Las Vegas Raiders. Maybe this could change in the future if Derek Carr has a bad season. There's a 1 year out in his contract, but this is interesting to see a little bit of his character here, and maybe this is not the Josh McDaniels we have today, but definitely was some guy that existed before. In addition to this, after completing training camp with fully padded two-a-days as often as was legal, this means you practice with pads 2 times a day. He hyped up a special reward after practice. It was an ice cream truck and a t-shirt that said Ironman, and the reward for practicing twice a day with pads, very dangerous, huge toll on your body, was an ice cream truck, is what Josh McDaniels did. Now that one's kind of funny. Not as intense as the first one. Now, every single day began with a 10-minute bad football reel from the day before, where he would dog cuss you and your coach for any bad play from practice the previous day 24 hours ago, and it set the tone for a real positive day. Hey, this one I don't really have too much of a problem with. I'm sure many coaches curse out their players, show tape before practice of all the errors that were made before, and things can get really heated, especially if you're struggling. I mean, this to me is not that big of a deal. What Tyler, this former offensive lineman, is trying to portray here, trying to make him seem like maybe he's angry or whatnot or unfair, but to me this just sounds like normal football criticism. It's going to be tough. It's going to be heated. That makes perfect sense to me. So far, the whole high school QB boasting thing is the only alarming thing I'm seeing here. Now, number 4, they had 25 slogans on the wall, and God forbid you forget a slogan, what the slogan was above the door in the cafeteria, because Josh McDaniels would call you out and ask you what the slogan was, and if you did forget what the slogan was, he would chew you out like crazy, which just kind of seems a little military-esque and whatnot, but we know that's kind of the culture in football. At least it used to be. Maybe that's changed over time, but it is kind of like you have to be treated sort of like somebody in the armed forces getting drilled by a drill sergeant. Some of these involve doing tedious tasks like memorizing certain slogans. So this just shows kind of him being a little intense, but to me, I don't find this at all outlandish as far as football coaches. This seems like somewhat normal behavior. And so number 5, after the season, Tyler Columbus had an exit interview with his coach, and Josh McDaniels spent 10 minutes telling him everything he sucked at, but he also looked depressed and miserable. And that when he was done, Tyler personally didn't care about, what he said. He was actually concerned about Josh McDaniels because it seemed like he was declining, right? Things weren't going well. And he asked him, "Hey, coach, are you all right? That's a hard man to work for." That's what Josh McDaniels said. And he goes, "So are you coming back?" And Josh McDaniels says, "Hell no." And he goes, "You getting fired or leaving?" And he says, "I don't care, but I'm getting the hell out of here." So whatever it was in Josh McDaniels' time with Denver, clearly didn't get along with the owner. And maybe the reason why he was such a drill sergeant, requiring people to memorize these slogans, chewing people out like crazy, is because he was getting drilled by his owner. So there's levels to this, and definitely sounds like there was some turmoil in the front office while Josh McDaniels was with the Denver Broncos. Number 6, and this is just scratching the surface. Maybe I'll share a few more before the game this weekend. Final thought that Tyler is saying is, hey, at the end of the day, even though Josh McDaniels was a little intense back in that time in Denver, he knew the X's and O's better than any coach, or just the same amount as any coach he's been around, and you won't hear any former player saying he doesn't know football. He just didn't know how to handle people. And he says he learned from his mistakes, and time will tell. And time will definitely tell this upcoming week as the Raiders face the Denver Broncos in a completely, let's just be honest, this is a completely must-win situation for the Raiders. If the Raiders lose this game, you could almost kiss the playoffs goodbye. Straight up, to be completely honest, you can. Because it's almost statistically impossible for them to make the playoffs if they lose this upcoming game. However, I still believe they're going to go 10-7, but that's because I'm a fan. I'm a fan, and just being completely honest, I'm sure if this was any other team, I probably wouldn't be this optimistic. But you have to have some faith when you've seen a lot of the positive play that the Raiders have done, and all the acquisitions that they've had in free agency. You would just hope that at some point they would turn the corner. And there is an easy stretch of games that they have, although no game is easy in the NFL, but definitely easier talent than what they've played thus far. And I don't think it's crazy to see the Raiders go 1-1 between playing the Broncos and then the Chiefs. I think they lose one of those games and win one of those games. Oh, heck, maybe they could even go 2-0 in that time. And that totally changes the AFC West, because the Broncos only have 2 wins. The Chiefs have 2 wins. They're leading the AFC West right now. If the Raiders get 2 wins of their own against the Broncos, against the Chiefs, giving them each a L while we get a W, I think it does change the AFC West. I think people end up being more optimistic. And I know it is statistically steep right now, but if there's one team that I think could do something, and be an outlier and defy the odds, I think it is the Raiders. And hopefully that does happen. But somebody who doesn't want the Raiders to defy the odds and actually has a lot of negative things to say about the Raiders is Bradley Chubb, Denver Broncos edge rusher, going to be going up against our team this upcoming Sunday, saying that he hates the Raiders. This is some pretty intense stuff.
I hate them, to be honest with you. I hate them. It's only a few teams in the league I hate, and they're one of them. Because every time we go there, I feel like it hasn't went in our favor since, I think 2015 or something like that. It hasn't went in our favor. So it's always a tough game. I always know it's going to be a good matchup. I always know I'm not going to say dirty, but they talking stuff. We talking stuff. It's going back and forth. So it's not going to be, like I said, a cakewalk. No matter what the record is, we know they looking at it the same way we are. I hate them, to be honest.
Whoa. One real quick thing. Yes, he hates the Raiders, and he hates it because the Raiders have been owning the Broncos, for the past few years. Quite frankly, even in the tank year, 2018, the Raiders are still whooping on the Broncos. But here's an interesting thing. He tries to imply that the Raiders played dirty, which I thought was very interesting.
It's going to be a good matchup. I always know I'm not going to say dirty, but they talking stuff. We talking stuff.
Okay, I'm not going to say dirty. Whenever somebody says, oh, I'm not going to say this. Oh, I'm not going to say that he's ugly, but, oh, I'm not going to say that, this place, has poor quality service, but, you're basically saying that. You're basically saying that, right? So right here.
I'm not going to say dirty, but they talking stuff. We talking stuff.
I'm not going to say dirty, but they talking stuff. We talking stuff. So interesting to see that behind the layers, some things that we don't notice during the game, a lot of the trash talking, you get those mic'd up clips that happen, but mic'd up clips, that's heavily edited. There's a bunch of real stuff that's being said in those times that is not shown to the public. And this just kind of shows, behind the curtain of the NFL and the rivalry in the AFC West, a lot of dirty talk, really tough matchup. We'll see what happens this upcoming week. And we also kind of know what's going to happen with Hunter Renfrow right now, along with Foster Moreau. Foster Moreau, has shown some progress this season so far, but unfortunately, due to a knee injury, he hasn't practiced all week. And Hunter Renfrow's second game, it looks like he's going to miss since the concussion last week or 2 weeks ago at the end of the Cardinals game. Hunter Renfrow, hasn't been practicing, didn't practice, been out all week, missed last game, and it looks like he's going to miss this game along with Foster Moreau. Nate Hobbs, still want to see what's going to happen with that. He was in the red no contact jersey during practice. Andre James had the red no contact jersey taken off, the center. So maybe you'll see Dylan Parham switch to guard, Andre James at center. Perryman and Merrick seem to be back and they're practicing and ready to go after missing them last week. And hey, they're going to be useful because those are some pretty good players that we missed out on. But hopefully Hunter Renfrow, Foster Moreau could get healthy and help the Raiders throughout the rest of the season, even if it's not this game. Hey, like this video if you haven't already and subscribe to the Raiders Rundown for more Raiders content. My name is WiFiWillie. Peace out. I hope you have a good one.